Hello and welcome to the Sanders Review. My name is Caleb Sanders, and this is my brand new channel wanting to explore all things books, movies, anything story related. And I figured that this would be a great way to start with the Booktube Newbie format and style, just to be able to answer a few questions and just begin a conversation between me and anybody who is watching this. So, welcome. Now, why did you start this channel? I've actually been watching BookTube for over 6 years now. I started with Daniel Green back when he was a small-time YouTuber, less than 10,000 subs, I believe, and he was going through his Wheel of Time reviews, and he was even doing his character matchups to see which character would beat another. It was fun to watch, and I always thought about joining and never really figured I had the time, never made the time, I guess, and life just got busier, and so I said, you know what? It is time to finally start and just make the time to just get out anything that is there. I'm really excited about just connecting with anybody in the community that likes the same books that I do. I'm very similar to many of the other new BookTube channels that are out there. I have a hard time finding people in my immediate circle who reads the books that I do. And so, connecting with anybody out there who is reading the same things that I am, and maybe through this channel, getting other people in my life interested in reading some books. That way we can have conversations about those books is something I'm really excited about. Now, what are some fun and unique things that I want to bring to BookTube? Like every other new booktuber, I just want to be able to have a dialogue with people in the community and people around me. My background is somewhat diverse just in terms of where I come from. I was born and raised in a small town called Weed, California. You can only imagine the jokes and things that I got going to Weed High. My students really appreciate that. But with my background coming from a small town, I live in Sacramento, California now, so a more urban setting. I'm a teacher. I'm an administrator working in college and career, helping students get to college. I have a master's degree in history, which definitely informs the things that I read about. I have a lot of family things that have happened, and so if I'm reading about any sort of trauma or drama within families, it's definitely relatable, and it's something that I engage with very deeply, and so I want to bring my experiences, my interpretations, just to any branch of literature that I'm reading. I read a variety of branches of literature, and I am really excited about not only becoming aware of new authors and new books, but also maybe introducing some of my favorites to people, or making anybody aware of how amazing some of the classic stories can be. That's just something I'm really excited about, and so looking forward to that. Now, why do I love reading personally? I would say every single person that is here on BookTube or watching BookTube would agree that it is a great way of obviously getting into a new world. But what I love about reading is that every book you read in some way can help you, in a sense, look through a lens at our own experience here, whether it's looking at society, whether it's looking at politics, religion, characters, a war, a conflict, whatever it is. It really does turn a mirror, a lens back upon ourselves to be able to understand a little bit more about individuals, a little bit more about groups. And this could be big, massive, open worlds that you're experiencing, or it could be a very small melodrama that is giving you a lot of insight. That's something I think is really impactful about entering into these other worlds. Now, what got me into reading? When I was very young, my dad would read to me. He worked very hard. He was a salvage logger. In fact, there's a picture of him right up here. You can kind of roughly see him. He would always make time to read to me. He would come up and read, starting off with Berenstain Bears, and eventually got into the Hardy Boys, got into the Black Stallion series. He read to me something called Three Against the Wilderness, which that's something I definitely want to reread and review with him here. There's another one called Lost in the Barrens, which was an amazing book by Farley Mowat about two boys, fiction about two boys getting lost up in the Canadian North, having to live through winter. So at a young age, my imagination was just excited by all of these ideas. And as I got older, I was able to read the Hardy Boys, a preteen series called The Seven Sleepers, which was kind of like a Christian fantasy series. Chronicles of Narnia, obviously. I was able to really get into just loving these books and these stories from a young age. Now, where do I read? Like everybody, you kind of read where you make time and get time.
I mean, let's face it, being a dad with 2 kids with a full-time job, audiobooks on the way to work. Sometimes that's the only way to go.
I mean, this is a pretty good spot.
With a 3-year-old, this is where a lot of reading happens.
So those are just a few places. Obviously, you read where you can, whether it's in line at an oil change, if you're waiting in line at the grocery store, or you actually have time to be able to just sit down and read. What books do you like to read? Now, depending on genre, there's obviously some big names that people in Booktube know. If we're talking about fantasy, I definitely am in love with the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I believe that Brandon Sanderson did an amazing job with what he had to accomplish with closing out that series, and that is what got me into reading Brandon Sanderson. Jade Bone Saga by Fonda Lee is one of my favorite book series of all times. And so those are just a few. Obviously, there's other big names that are out there. In terms of science fiction, you definitely have Pierce Brown. You get into, I like Christopher Paolini, his To Sleep in a Sea of Stars. But that is one area that I want to definitely dive into more. So if you have any recommendations about sci-fi authors or works, let me know. I started off with Ender's Game with Orson Scott Card. I think that was his full name. And so if you have any others that are related, definitely let me know. I would love to read. In terms of historical fiction, I definitely love reading things by Ken Follett. His Pillars of the Earth series is amazing. Might want to reread and review that at some point here. Definitely have the C.S. Forester. I mentioned him before. His works, Bernard Cromwell, his Final Kingdom or the Saxon Tales, the Richard Sharp series, those are all ones that have inspired me. And there's many other historical fiction authors that I love to read. And there's some that I definitely want to expand into to be able to engage with the audience there as well. And in terms of classics, definitely loving Alexander Dumas, loving Robert Louis Stevenson, Orczy, her Scarlet Pimpernel is amazing. And so there are many other classics, but that's another realm that I want to try to get into, rereading and then also reading some of the classics that I haven't gotten around to. I'm not expecting this booktube to take off and allow me to be able to read a ton of books, but it's definitely something that I'm looking forward to and engaging with these new works. Now, what will the challenges be here with this booktube? Obviously, life gets busy. That's one reason why I never started this booktube, is because I was working 2 jobs at a while during COVID, and so never really felt like I had the time. But now working is a challenge. My wife and I have 2 children, a 3-year-old son and a 2-month-old daughter. And so that is obviously going to take just a little bit of time out of my schedule. And but I'm definitely looking forward to just kind of experiencing this process, finding the time. Maybe I'll be able to upload one video a week. And it might be a couple weeks, because I am not letting this become a huge distraction. It's something I can just plug in and go for 15, 20 minutes and talk about a book, and then that's it, and just do a quick edit and put it out there. And so I'm definitely not diving into this project planning on doing everything that I would want to with all the bells and whistles, but it's starting with a conversation and hopefully just engaging with people who love books the way that I do. Now, what are some things I'm really excited about? Definitely, as I mentioned, talking to others in my life about books. In fact, my wife is planning on possibly reading some books for the first time and then coming on here and we talk about it, which I'm really excited about. The other thing is just being able to just share my thoughts about these works, and especially if I'm able to think about a story in a new way. Definitely not planning on trying to reinvent the wheel about a story and say I have to come up with a new take, but if there's something that stands out to me that's unique, I'm definitely looking forward to sharing that with you guys. So thank you so much for watching so far. If you made it this far, I'm very excited to engage with just stories, and whether that's books or movies or even video games, just review the characters in the world in which is related to us. I mentioned that I have my master's degree in history. That is in world history with a secondary emphasis in Japanese history, kind of the samurai Meiji Restoration era. And so I have a lot of broad interests. I think history can relate to most stories, whether it's fantasy or sci-fi, whatever it is. Also check out a tag here. I'm learning how to do YouTube on this way, so bear with me if there's some things that I'm glitchy on. But there should be a link here at some point in the description up here to be able to go watch another video right now that is about a small book haul and review of my very small bookshelf, because 2 kids don't have a lot of space and room to be able to store books. So until next time, it should be about a week or so when I upload my first review, probably of a book that I've read, but just that to try to bring to the audience. And if you have any recommendations for books, please let me know. I appreciate it. Until next time, this is Sanders Review.